Hello, everybody. My name is Christian. I'm the host of the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur Show. And full transparency, today's guest, we had a really hard time scheduling each other because he's busier than I am. And then I screwed up a little bit. So I need to be honest with you. But also, I think you guys going to love him for three reasons. Number one, he's amazingly good in what he does. He's an amazing human being. And the third thing is, you guys going to learn right after this. Hello again. My name is Christian. I'm the host of the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur Show. And you guys hear me say this all the time. You guys going to love today's guest because there's a few things he did really, really well. So first off, he's a hospitality leader he's not afraid of asking questions traditional. And then he also looks at that and he reshapes the narrative around leadership, culture, and growth, not just in our industry. I think what he teaches goes cross industry. So also, as you guys know, we ethically stalked him over the last 15 weeks. And we try to find reasons where we can say, hey, you remember you said that, but you really didn't. So what's going on here? But what we absolutely love about him is that he speaks his insight with anybody who feels overburdened, where they feel stuck or where they feel burned out. And you guys love today's guest. With that, I want to welcome Mr. Christopher McFadden. Thanks for being here at the Disruptive Chef Show.
Thank you. Christian, this is amazing. So awesome to be working with you again.
Yeah,
this is great.
I apologize it took so long to get you scheduled, but I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And before we get,
I'm an advocate.
Yeah,
for timing is everything. Right?
Before we get into it,
we're here.
Tell our audience a little bit, where are you calling in from? What are you doing? You're an above average good looking guy. You could do so many things. Why hospitality?
Oh, so I'm from Burlington, Ontario. I lived out west for about 18 years, but my wife and I have settled back to my home city. So I'm about 40 minutes west of Toronto, about 40 minutes north of Buffalo for an easy understanding of where exactly we are. What was funny is I got into my first job ever was at a golf course when I was 12, cleaning members' clubs and driving the tractor range. And last year, my dad and I were playing golf at this club, and I went and stood in the exact place at 12 years old that I started in hospitality and taking care of others. And I went into retail at 14. I went into restaurants at 18. I was a sommelier by the time I was 20, just before I was 24. And I knew what I was going to do was I was going to drive my life in the gesture of everything about taking care of people. But I chose the food and beverage sector in hospitality. Because again, you've seen my work, and I think hospitality can't just be dedicated to the people that put food and beverage down. It's that simple gesture of what we do in the act of taking care of others. This is what I really drove, but I did restaurants for 25 years.
Awesome. We really appreciate it. And first off, thanks a lot for coming on to our show, because there's a few things I want to talk about today. Overall, how your background has shaped your leadership, not just insights. It's really an illustration because you are being the fixer. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. But before we get started with all of that, so can you tell our audience a little bit, what do you do today and how do you serve the industry?
Yeah, that's great. So the McFadden Group focuses on hospitality career coaching. However, this was a reintroduction that I had made to the McFadden Group a year ago now, where I was focusing on first leadership in doing more of the soft skill teaching to develop hard skills. And then last year, I pivoted to making sure leadership was an actionable position and not just the people running the business, but what if we were to groom everybody that was getting into it, growing in it, moving along, but paying a little bit more attention to how they were going to get to the steps that they were trying to achieve in their hospitality direction. So McFadden Group, we focus on hospitality career coaching, but we do it a little bit differently because our entire perspective is making sure people develop their emotional intelligence to align their core values so that they understand more of who they are before they go and do what they do.
I absolutely love that. And you talk a lot about the importance of, you call it revaluing the status quo in the hospitality industry. Can you talk to us a little bit where that is coming from and how can not just I want to call it a person or anybody industry do it, and how can they help, or how can that whole process help them grow their team?
I think the biggest thing is that what I'm doing was something I had to do for myself first. Is that this wasn't me just creating a career coaching company and going, hey, we're just going to go take care of people. It's the fact that I had to take care of myself first, and that I had to go through a lot of lows. And I hit depression just over 3 years ago, and I was lost and locked and didn't know what to do. And I started building programs to address this in hospitality because I knew it existed outside of just me. But my real drive is that I've been at the low, and I know I can't be the only person that's at that moment, and deciding on whether or not they have to go to work, whether they want to go to work. And the shift in perspective of more of this inside out perspective is that you'll be greater at what you do outside if you bring your stuff here to it, rather than letting the outside stuff rattle you, like a
Yeah.
can for anyone.
I love, thanks for taking it all on for the industry, because it happens only to you. It doesn't happen to any of us. So, because I love when our audience kind of follows you a little bit, you talk about that you used to be the fixer, and you thought a real guy who is the fixer, that defines really great leadership. So can you talk to us a little bit, what changed your mind, and how did that shift, that little thing you did, impact the way you look at leadership today?
Oh, it's because I fixed myself first. That it has to start with you. And the hard part about that is admitting that you need to. And I'm blessed for what I did, and everything that I created was stuff that I had done myself. So I had to fix me first before I started the idea of trying to go and help fix situations or environments or teams or independent professionals. Was that if you're not starting in the best light you can be in, it makes it hard to try to do it for others. So I fully believe that. I believe leadership is an innate quality. I believe
Mhm.
it has the potential to come out. Some of us find it, some of us don't. But I believe the behavioral aspects of what happens out there, right, again, affects what's in here.
Yeah.
Um, but I think leadership. I love leadership ideas as well, from bottom up thinking, as much as
Mhm.
top down is the importance of what we've always known. But what if, I had a 17-year-old running my front door at a restaurant that I was a partner at, and the difference was is that
Yeah.
I hired her at 15. At 17, she was running my front door because she knew exactly what our brand was, but she knew how to do it based upon who she was. Um, Easily one of the most powerful staff members I've ever had, and I think those kind of inspiring moments that pop back up in my life allow me to remember, that leadership is something that we all can do. We just certainly hope that people are the ones that have that in them as well.
I absolutely love that. And I leadership, a lot of people talking about leadership as it is that one thing. Can you talk to us a little bit? What does leadership actually mean to you, and what do you see the leadership of a really good leader in the hospitality industry? What does it look like? Who are they? How do they show up for other people? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I love that. I made a comment. I was uh, very blessed to be a guest speaker at Bar and Restaurant Expo in Las Vegas a few months ago, and I had made the comment of how I'd really operated rooms kind of at the beginning of COVID and through how far I was into operational stuff during COVID. And I put my team first, and it was we need guests. Period. Right. We need to have returns on our investments, but we'll put more money in the bank if the people that are showing up. And I made this comment quite a few times on LinkedIn lately, and on spots lately, was happy people sell more things. So when your team gets to work, right? If people want to be there, they're going to be there for themselves first. It's just the way it is, right? I'm going to put more money in my pocket, right? But then realizing that you can put even more money in your pocket if you're there because you want to be. And I think the difference in watching, and I love it. I love going into restaurants now and paying attention differently. It's that I'm not going in and scrutinizing what I see that's going wrong, but I see it as more of how could opportunities exist that could be helped, and that how could I have an impact on that leader or that 20-year-old server or that 38-year-old server or the person that's been doing this for 50 years. and just needs a little bit more
I
lift. And I
love
think the huge components of that is really paying attention differently now to the
Yeah.
things that are happening out there, because it's the same thing, but you look at it differently when
Yeah.
you start
So
changing your
can you
direction.
talk to our audience a little bit on, in your opinion, how did leadership change over the last few years? Not just for you, but outside, looking from the outside in. What do you think is a quality maybe of an amazing leader? And what is the qualities or the behaviors of somebody who thinks they're a good leader?
I I'm going to very much. I think the more conversationally a lot of us out there, and props to our entire community that is taking on the mental health issues, the reality and the stamina that exists, that it's not the grind any much more as it's the care. um, and I'm going to compliment the starting point of our chit chat before we logged in here officially was the transparency. um, we were talking about empowerment a couple of weeks ago at something, and even at the show I was at, and I said the number one thing with empowerment is transparency. Is that if your
Mhm.
team trusts the fact that you're going to be transparent with them, allows them to be transparent with you, is that we're going to grow better in what we do and stronger in what we do is the more we listen, and not the old-fashioned way of autocratic leadership, which still has to exist. Right? There's things that
Yeah.
I still have to do that I don't need your opinion on. However, right, when we're coming to the operational side of things, I used to love to do this where I was like, okay, here's 3 ideas, right? Team, go and sort through all 3 of them and then bring me back which one works the best. And they're
Mhm.
like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, because you're doing it. So go, like, let me know which one's going to work the best. These are the 3 we put on paper as a team, talking about it as management team. Help us lead it, right? And I think that's the difference, is that I'm watching more of this conversationally everywhere, and not just by us as coaches or consultants or the people that are on LinkedIn trying to help this space, but watching it in restaurants and seeing it with friends that operate businesses and own businesses, and
Mhm.
having colleagues and friends that are just getting into the business, or clients as well. The big difference is that people are walking in and they're being heard. And I think our younger generation is expecting that now. And I think we're doing, I know, not I think, I know we're doing better as the older guards out there, if you will, on paying attention to in our world. There's a difference when we didn't have cell phones when we were kids. We just went
I
to work.
agree. By the way, you made so much sense until you said old birds. I totally blanked out. I'm not sure what you're
Old,
talking
old,
about.
old guards, not old people, right? We're not old
Okay.
people, right? We're more mature. That's it,
Oh,
right? But
I
old
love
guards.
that because
Yeah,
you made so much sense until you said that. No, I totally agree. And when our audience starts following you, there's a few things you talk about. You're always talking about, hey, there was a time in your leadership career or in your work where you felt doing really good work, going above and beyond, being a good person, that all is enough, and you gotta be really good and everybody's gonna appreciate you. And you said you didn't found that that was the case in all of the situations you found yourself in. So
yeah.
talk to us a little bit how that did that affect the way you not just approach your work, the way you approach leadership today on that.
I believe you need to lead for yourself first. And it's very simple. When you wake up in the morning, there's a great video on one of the social media sites where it's, a general of the Navy
Hmm.
who talks about making your bed first in the morning.
Yeah.
And that tone that shifts is that, and I talk to my clients about this, is that when you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing you do? And I did this when I was running restaurants, was when you woke up this morning, right? Push the resume aside. What did you do this morning? And they're like, what? And I was like, what'd you have for breakfast? Right? What did you do for yourself first? I've got friends that have businesses on their own, trying to build them, and then other things to drive income in. And they've got this perspective that they're supposed to drive income in first before they build their business. And I was like, when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is something for
Yeah.
you. And then, right, but wake up half an hour earlier and start your day differently for yourself. Don't pick up your phone immediately.
Yeah.
Right? If you're reading a book on it, I get it. But, find something for you, because if you lead yourself first, it just equates to now seeing leadership for everybody else in a different
Yeah.
light. And I think that was my biggest is that I had to do it for me first in order to allow me to coach people today in finding that for themselves.
I love that. And I really resonate with what you said because for me, I always knew about that. People are saying, hey, if you want to do things differently, you need to do things differently. And if you take a routine to work, hey, do something else because it will expose you to whole new things. And I always thought I
Yeah.
did a really good job at this. So this June, I'm intentional. When I drive to work, I drive any place but the way I usually did. And so my wife and I took our convertible out a few days ago, and I drove. I
Mhm.
drive always around the same thing. So I drove the other way around, and she says, "Oh my God, this is so beautiful! I didn't even notice that because you always drive the other way." And for me, it's those little things, and you talk constantly about it, that real leadership is about the little things you do, not just for yourself, what you do for anybody else, because that's the way leadership is. And you also talk about the grand leadership that everybody thinks, oh, in order for me to be a good leader, I need to do XYZ. That this is absolutely not the case. And then you also talk a lot about burnout. So I want you to share a little bit your insights around burnout, especially, it's a recurring theme in the hospitality industry. What is your take on burnout, and what is maybe one or two tools you can have our listener practice, not just practice, but um, do not experience burnout, or to look at it differently?
I never was a journal
Hmm.
person. I never have. And I take bullet point notes through my day to see where I'm at, so that the next day I can see how yesterday affected today and how tomorrow can be a better representation of what today is. But yesterday had to
Hmm.
exist. It had to. Right. So what are we going to take from growing from what we had, and what does our day look like at the end of that day for a better today? Sorry to ramble on that thought for a second. But number one thing for me was, I think when we find moments to become resilient in the struggles, and I have a video going I'm going to be filming today that talks about how if we spent more time looking for solutions than continued growth in a problem, we would be in a better
Hmm.
position with tackling burnout.
Yeah.
And I had, as a professor for the last couple of years, was that I had first day of class, I would say to students, who overthinks? And they were like, what? And I would put my hand up first. I was like, I'll start it here, right? So put your hands up, be
Hmm.
proud about it. And as soon as of 40 students in a classroom, 28 hands went up, I started the first day of the semester by going, isn't it nice to know you're not the only one? And they went, what? And I said, perspective is everything. Everybody overthinks. For those of you that don't have your hands up, I'm proud of you for not admitting it.
Hmm.
However, let's pull out as much as we can, right? And I think the more honest with everything around us, but if we can control that little piece of our stomach that holds the angst, and pay attention to what's around us and what great things and gratitude we can have as we begin our day, is I think it frames burnout in a different way as
Yeah.
something that is no longer a weakness, but something that is an opportunity for us to turn into a strength. And I do with my clients a personal SWOT analysis where they have to find some humble pie and humility to dive into themselves without, anything else other than, okay, what do I have to write about
Yeah.
myself? And then we bloom that understanding and discovering it. But I think it starts with realizing that there's more opportunities to take burnout on because you have more strengths to fight against it.
Yeah.
And that if we look at it in this perspective, um, it deflates us.
I love that. And you constantly talk about that you can't give away what you don't have. So talk to us a little bit. Where did that philosophy come from? I love that, by the way. Why do you feel that you can give away if you don't have it?
It doesn't make sense if it's hypocritical. Is that if all of a sudden I'm promoting things that I'm not doing for
Hmm.
me, then it just doesn't. Then it's
Yep.
artificial, right? And it doesn't show true. Honest. I'm an honest person. I can't live on a lie. My wife always makes fun of me for that. We've been together 20 years this year, and she's like, "Christopher, you couldn't lie," and I couldn't. Right? Is that I can't fall asleep at the middle of the night and just fall apart. But I have to work on what I need before I can start talking about it with others. So my consistent goal setting for myself and growth for myself is not limited by any
Yeah.
means for what I'm now introducing to friends, colleagues, family members, clients, everybody in my wheel. I love people. I love shaking hands. I love meeting more people and adding more to my Rolodex. Every like 77th day, I go into an introverted moment where I'm like, need a couple hours. But other than that, the more success I have with meeting people and helping them strive to betterness for themselves, if I start doing that, I work on it for myself, changes the perspective completely.
Love that. I love that. And for me, first of all, I'm a big fan of you, and I love when you talk about. You constantly talk about, as you started out in the leadership, in the hospitality world, how leadership not just has pivoted as something you wanted to do, but also how you you had to teach yourself real leadership. So, can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because a lot of people feel, oh, leadership is one of those things. XYZ does it. I just copy that. And then people going to love me as much as the other person.
You know what? It's funny. I think my biggest moment of learning where leadership had to exist, and it was completely unexpected, was that when I officially, had my sommelier diploma, now I'm a sommelier in a very high-end restaurant. There's 900 labels on the wine list. And I thought, boom, I'm going to go there and take care of that wine list. And my owner goes, you can't take this over until you learn how to run a room. And I was like, what? Because you think you're just going to be doing wine stuff all day? No. First, we need to teach you how to run and operate a business, and then that's your golden ticket, right?
Yeah.
You want that? This is what you have to do first. And I was blessed. Clayton Morgan from the Belvedere Restaurant in Calgary was my it. He was a fiery independent owner. Was one of the top 10 restaurants in the country when I had the blessed fortune of running it at 26 years old.
That's awesome.
And he was my moment, and always was my expectation of watching it independently done so that I could understand more on how corporately it had to be done as I grew in the industry with larger companies. But that moment of going, okay, well, I need to learn how to do this. And he gave me the chance to lead the books, to lead the list, to lead the team, to lead the reservations, to lead things, which was building blocks to me becoming a stronger leader. Was that just a leader? I was given leading opportunities, and when those showed up, I took them. And then, as I grew in it, I realized how much of it that was what allowed me to. So I think with teams is that give people leading opportunities to build their leadership, because we can't give everything to everybody. Hopefully, the people that are running these businesses are the leaders of the group. But if you've got the capabilities and opportunities, right, why not be the person to give them those opportunities to grow?
Yeah, love
give
that.
people building blocks for it, and I think the stronger we're going to make this world. And
Cool.
hospitality.
Absolutely love that.
Yeah.
And listen, this industry is an amazing industry. Anybody in it is in it for a reason, because they love to serve other people. And for me, I met some really amazing people in this industry, and I know I will meet even more some really amazing people. So, but let us look forward a little bit. So, Mr. Christopher McFadden, what is up next for you? What lights you up, whether in business or in life? Where do you see your leadership journey go? Not just next. What do you want to tackle? So, talk to us a little bit. What is Christopher focusing on, Christopher, for the next 6 months? And what is Christopher focusing on his career for the next 6 months?
I love this. So I'm amazed at the amazing amount of books that I've had a chance to read lately from everyone out there who's been putting them out, and been blessed. And it's been inspiring to start putting my story on paper. I transparency conversationally is one thing, but transparency on paper is a totally different light, because now you're back to yourself when you wrote it as yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing. So I would love to start a book. I began something. Last year, I started to create a new program called Fully Complete, which is an emotional intelligence recovery program for restaurant professionals, and focusing more on recovery rather than the conversation of addiction. And that, as delicate of a feather as addiction is a word that was used. And had some great colleagues that I was starting it with, but we all have different things that we still need to grow and work on in ourselves and our own businesses. Yeah. So I've kind of taken it back on my own to grow. But it was completely, let's look at things as a strength-based model for people instead of a weakness. And why are you doing that, rather than how can we help you do it this way? Or how can we help you, rather than the, why did you do it that way? And making people feel belittled. And I think in restaurants, for me, especially being, almost 3 years sober from wine and just over 8 years sober from hard alcohol and beer, is that I think, especially with my emotional intelligence licenses and certifications as a coach, how can I now turn that way of thinking? Because my biggest thing was the behavior of addiction itself sits on its own. And some of us have behavioral capabilities that allow us to not make that a negative behavior and just a thing that we're able to enjoy. So yeah, a big thing for me is officially launching this program called Fully Completely. Is my next step of growth for myself, which is a real, expenditure of taking the SMART recovery model and the AA model and molding it into a personal model. And then for myself, I need to travel a little bit more. I've decided is that I need to be able to see more of what else is around me before I start just trying to grow my leadership capabilities without paying attention to what's happening around me. So I need to get more out of my wheelhouse, especially now that I'm not downtown Toronto 4 days a week with college because things are shifting, which is fine. But it's it's what do I take as an opportunity to travel more and see more and see what I can do to have more of an impact on my growth, to have more.
I absolutely love that. And I couldn't agree with you more. I definitely think you need to have a book. And there's a few reasons behind it. Number one, you writing or you sharing something really personal. And there's a lot of people who are saying, I know I'm dealing with this, but I don't want to talk to you about it. It's my personal thing. So people reading about it first before they will go and see somebody. And because I honestly believe that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. The second thing about a book is you kind of hit on it, because a book, when you write a book, the person you become in writing the book is totally different than what you were before the book. And we see this in our program all the time, where people, we have this lady, her book is being launched today, and she's 76 years old. And she says, I want to write this book. Christian, don't do me the Facebook bullshit. I don't want any of that. I don't want to do any of that. We part of our group is a life group. Okay. She's amazingly good on it. And when she shows up, we schedule a meeting for half hour. It's 2 hours because she's amazingly good at it. She said to me the other day, she said, Christian, I hate you. I said, why do you hate me? She says, I want to do a podcast. Okay. And I was like, what happened? 10 weeks ago, you said, how dare you bring that up? I honestly believe a book is going to expose on who you are, and a book will help you to kind of lead something totally different.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, you know what? It's interesting because I've started a little bits of things. Technically speaking, there's 2 chapters done. Cat's out of the bag, I guess. Yeah. But I was so blessed. A dear friend of mine, Jennifer Katz, who had just approached me on LinkedIn about doing an interview with me.
So for me, and that's exactly the book. And then the other 3 benefits on a book is a book gets you in the room, because now people looking at somebody who wrote a book the same way of looking at a PhD almost. The other thing is it when you write a book, I always make this joke. It's not about the book. It's about you getting clear and learning how to tell your story, which is going to make it a lot easier to go out there.
I love that you said that. This is awesome. Because everybody has a story. Yeah. Tell it. Right? When Jennifer Katz reached out to me, who I've never met on LinkedIn, knew her.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And she sent me a message on LinkedIn and said, I'm doing interviews with people. Would you consider helping tell your transformation story of how you went from this to that? And as I was telling it to her, she goes, you're really transparent. And I was like, what's the point of keeping tucked in? And when I read it back, I had a tear, and I was like, oh my, somebody listened. And then I read it back, and I used to say this to students, is write your paper as a student, read it back as a professor. Would you grade it? So when I read it back, now I was reading it back as a reader of not Christopher McFadden, but as the person that was reading the story of Christopher McFadden. And it was empowering and powerful that it there was a reality to what was now on paper. So that's it. And I thank
No,
you for your
I
support.
honestly believe, and there's a benefit nobody talks about. A book is your salesperson, which is gonna go out there 24/7. It doesn't ask for a raise. It doesn't ask for a day off. It will go out there and sell your program 24/7. And the other thing, what a book is, um, I think your client are the people which read books. So I think for you to get your information out there, and I also think um, just knowing what I know about you, you have a social responsibility to write a book because your stuff you're talking about, the things you went through and the things you share could totally change could totally change somebody else's life. So I actually think you have a responsibility to write a book. And
Well, then I have an accountability to that now. So I will take the accountability and responsibility because I believe those two words go
I,
hand in
I
hand.
honestly think because I just knowing what I know about you, actually reading about it, and if I have those demons I need to fight, you know what? I will have a much better quality of life because of you. And so you have that responsibility to write that book. So with that,
Right, go ahead.
Christopher, so tell our audience a little bit, how can they learn more about you? How can they learn more about your program? So, and how can they get a hold of you?
Amazing. So LinkedIn is great for me, Christopher McFadden. I have my company one, the McFadden Group, but I believe in building my brand, the McFadden Group, as the brand of Christopher McFadden. So I use my personal email very much so while I tag my company in it, but look me up on Christopher McFadden on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Instagram is TMG, the McFadden Group. Facebook is the McFadden Group, but directly Christopher at TMG-hospitality.com, and my website is tmg-hospitality.ca.
Awesome.
But you can find me. I'm quite active on LinkedIn with content.
Yeah,
so.
I can attest to that. He's amazingly good on. So I telling you, go to LinkedIn and reach out to him. He's gonna get back to you. So there, we want to do something with you. We call Rapid Fire Question Food Service Edition. Are you up for playing with us?
Of course I am. Of course
Because
I am.
now there's no right or wrong answers. Actually, there are, but I want our audience to get to know you and see what makes you tick. So there's 25 questions. The way it works is really simple. I ask you for a number, you give me a number between 1 and 25. And then I want you to answer as quickly as you can, yes or no. And why? Because we want to know why, because we're nosy. So with that, are you up for playing Rapid Fire Question Food Service Edition?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Please
Mr.
do.
McFadden, give me a number between 1 and 25. 11. Is chocolate considered a valid topping for nachos? Yes or no, and why?
Yes, because I've also had yes, I agree with this. I've had waffles that were actually, or nachos, and the chip was a waffle. So yeah,
love that. Yeah. Give me a number between 1 and 25. Number 2. Should ramen noodles be legit breakfast food? Yes or no, and why?
You know what? I've never gotten into the ramen thing, and my wife and I lived beside 12 of them in Vancouver, and I don't know. I think it was more of her lead on it. Pho, I've had more of. So if we can use pho there, maybe because I've had that more than ramen, then yeah, I agree. I think there's something cool about. Let me give you an idea here. I take dumplings that are cold, and I wrap them in a piece of marbled cheese. And have them as an appetizer next morning for breakfast. Cold.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. To the noodles, 100%.
Okay, give me a number between 1 and 25.
25.
25. What is one question operators never ask of you, but they definitely should?
Hey, how are you today? I think we should all start everybody's day with how are you today?
So why?
What was that? You know what's funny, and I'm going to use an example of something, is that I mentioned this a couple times recently on spots, and I always loved watching Gordon Ramsay on Kitchen Nightmares when he walks into these businesses and says, "Nice to see you." And I started doing it with clients And I started doing it with people that were walking in for first time interviews. I started doing it in my generalness of walking by somebody on the street that I just say hi
Mm-hmm.
to. And they go, "What? We've never met." And I'm like, "I know, but now we started the conversation." From just a simple "How are you today?" to make somebody's day. I had a client a couple of weeks ago that I told her to go, I send out red balloon emojis to people randomly with no disclaimer on it. And then a minute later, I go, "Did you go, huh? Why did he do that?" And as you did that, you start smiling. So I said to a client, take a red balloon, tie it up to your belt loop, and don't tell anybody that you even know that you have it. And see how many smiles you can bring to somebody's
Oh,
day.
I love
So
that.
we can turn that into a question very simply, right? I think everybody, when you walk in the door, should be genuinely asked, "How are you today?" And it would
I
make a
love
better
that.
difference, not because we had to ask, but because we wanted to.
Love it. Okay. Last question. Give me a number between 1 and 25.
I'll do my lucky number 7.
7. uh, w-
I love it.
I'm not sure who comes up with these things. Would you cook while wearing your famous pajamas? I'm not sure what is a famous pajama. Just to make sure it makes the food taste better. Yes or no, and why?
Oh yeah, be comfy. You know what's funny is I remember being a kid and making fun of kids that would wear track pants with like elastic bands on the bottom. I have a collection of these now, and I believe, but I also have a pair of pajamas that are very specific. So yeah, you know what? If my wife comes downstairs and she can see,
I,
you know, I've got a
I want to
formal
know
hoodie,
about
on, a formal shirt, and then all of a sudden a pair of pajamas, and she's like, "Are you going out on the barbecue? Do
I,
you have charcoal on the barbecue in your pajama pants?" I'm like, I do. So yeah.
I appreciate it. You're very, very honest. We don't want to know anymore. Oh, good. Oh, good. You got it. So first off, Christopher, thanks a lot for being here. Thanks for playing Rapid Fire Question Food Service Edition, and I really want to thank you for your honesty, for your clarity, for your heart. And for me, it was amazing to kind of get to know more about you and see what makes you tick. So thanks for being here. Thanks for the gift of your time. It was absolutely amazing to hear how you look at just not leadership, how you look at hospitality, how you currently support the industry. And we really appreciate that.
Christian, I appreciate you. Thank you very much for your invitation, sir.
So, last question before you go. What was the best advice you ever got, but you never acted on?
You know what? It's funny. We were talking about asking questions earlier today. And I realized one day that, asking questions was an important thing and that, the advice was always mind your P's and Q's. And I was
Mm.
like, I don't agree with that. I said, I think there should be more transparency in this world. And when I had originally quit drinking before I had slept with wine again, but my biggest thing that I had taken that as never had really followed it. And then I decided to challenge it was, and this is my advice to everybody out there, is always ask a question because there's a 50-50 chance that you're going to get the answer that you want. And if you don't get the answer that you want, you still have a 50% chance to reframe and redevelop that question because you believe in the answer being what you thought it should have been into addressing it differently. But I believe the more we start asking and not holding back, the stronger we become for ourselves and for everybody else.
Love it.
So yeah. So I think taking a don't do this into I'm going to do it anyways because I need to, for me, was everything. And that's what allowed my growth to start.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you. Thank you. So, again, thanks for being here today. And to our listeners, let us know what resonated with this conversation with Christopher today. Write on the comments below. Also, make sure you follow Christopher on LinkedIn because he's really, really active on LinkedIn. And if you ever need anything from us, feel free, DM us or look us up on christianjfischer.com. And then always, leave your comments below. What worked? What was one of the things Christopher talked about you totally resonated with you? So with that, I want to say thank you for being here today. Until next time, remember to disrupt your kitchen, fire up your career, stay hungry for change. I'm Christian. I'm here with Christopher, and we are signing off. That means we are out of here. So be the change, be the challenge, and be the chef who sets the world on fire. So with that, Christopher, I really appreciate you being here. Thank you. And to our audience, go out there, everybody, and be disruptive. We see you next Monday. Thanks, everybody.